Hey, this is Michelle Polacinski from 518 Film Network. I had the absolute pleasure to sit with and talk to Shannon Plumb, who's a writer, actor, and director based in New York City, but originally born in Schenectady. We had a really cool conversation, so I hope you enjoy. Yeah, so let's get into it if you're ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, so I was looking at chopped liver
Oh
and
yeah.
basically watched like I think almost every episode or like like in one sitting, which is a lot.
My grandfather used to tickle my feet when I was a kid.
Did you want him to?
Yeah, I
Really?
loved it.
No
I asked him to
kidding.
do it all the time.
Wow.
Did you ever get your feet tickled?
Never had my feet tickled once.
Do you want me to tickle your feet?
I'm not sure.
Put your foot up.
No.
I'm gonna tickle you.
I can't. In the middle of a restaurant?
Do you really care what the people say?
Is
Put it
anyone
up.
looking?
Put your foot up.
Your writing process on that, like where does it come from?
Yeah. It's funny I haven't even watched them all together. Like that would be a good experiment. But the writing process with those, it takes a while for me to get them made because just attaching an actor or whatever. So they're really organic, and I would say like I'm editing two of them now, and I had to speed up the process. But for the other ones, it was almost like the writing was like over 6 months or something ridiculous. But I had the luxury of time because I couldn't get it made yet.
Mhm.
Um, but it's really just like the writing process is more like sketching out thoughts when I'm out in the real world. And it's fun because I know when I'm gonna make one and I commit to it, it's like I start to see all the funny things like out in the world, because I'm searching. And so gradually my list is getting a little bigger of what the skits will be. And but once someone is attached, that's when it really starts to take form. Because I wanted, if you notice, like each one, whoever comes into it to play with me, they bring their own thing. So, um, you know, I start to write according to who I think they are, and then I ask them once they're in if they can, if they want to add something, if they don't like something, if they want to write with me. I mean, none of them have really like taken the time to do like, a month of writing with me or something, which could be fun, but um yeah, they just don't have the time for that. So yeah, it becomes a collaboration in the end with the actor. Um I know with Rosie, she really like the night before we were gonna shoot, and a couple times before, she gave ideas as to how to change it, and Ava wanted to edit a couple things, and it's just a really nice collaboration. And I'm always so surprised by what they bring to the improv or to the performance, or just their energies. Like Gabe, the first one I worked with, actor I worked with, he was somehow so sexual, and I didn't write anything. I mean, bedroom chocolate is sexy, whatever, but I wasn't planning on it being like, sex. I don't know, a sexual presence. And he totally had that like throughout the whole thing. So he was really fun to work with. But yeah, each person, like Ava was like brought so much energy. It made it move so much to me better and faster. And like um I she's so talented. And Hazel was a whole different kind of character. She had a bit of a toughness and slick and like real straight person, but when we did there's a barbecue scene, and I was like, how Hazel, how are we gonna make this different? And I was like, we got to do something. And I told the costume person to go get us some teeth. um and when we pulled those out, she just like she rocked them. She was so funny. Like it was like she needed that prop to allow herself to like really get goofy, you know? Cuz she's so slick and cool. Like, how's the grill going?
Oh, it's going good. I got up a little early to start the coals. Didn't see you out here.
I was up before you. It was dark out when I came down.
Well, I didn't have to get up too early. I got preheated coals.
Ooh, where'd you get those?
My assistant flew down to Peru to get special coals from the forest. They were lit centuries ago, and they never went out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everybody has their own thing, you know?
Yeah, that scene with the barbecue is so amazing because just like the teeth coming out of nowhere, and it was like I felt like you two just had a really good energy in that whole like skit, and I don't know, it was like it just kind of transformed the character because what's cool about it is it's like every different skit, it's like you're a completely different character. It really shows the range of like your acting skills and also the actors that you bring in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that. I also felt like your energy with Ava Mendez was just like there was such a kinetic energy between the two of you. You guys were both so into it and playing off of each other. Like it was really cool to see. So like, what was it like working with her?
I mean, it was, she's such a pro. Like, that was the first thing. Like, you know, it was just like, you know, she comes, she's on, it's, you know, she's just like an athlete, you know, like NBA or something. And, and then like, I knew that she could do all the different parts, but to see her do it, like, I was really excited for her because I thought everyone should see how versatile she is. It's like she doesn't have to just play the sexy bombshell in Hollywood. She can put a fucking mustache on, you know? She knows how to do it. And like, I mean, yeah, I wish more people had seen it with her, you know, because yeah, she can do a lot more than what she has been allowed to do, kind of thing. But I loved working with her, you know. She's really, her energy is just so good. It's just, and you know, she's great at improv and impersonations, and like, yeah, it was I had so much fun with her.
Yeah, it was super funny. Even just the end credits.
Yeah,
It was so subtle, but like
yeah,
just the two of you like sitting there, it was really beautiful the way I think that I don't remember. No, it didn't start with that because like it started with like you two were like at the counter and like I think you were playing her assistant or something. Like that was really funny.
yeah.
Uh
Yeah, I was supposed to be like like, I don't know. I saw that one time at the cafe. Like, this girl was like, I was behind her and she's like on her phone and she's not like paying attention that it's her turn. She's just like moving behind the other customer. I don't know. But another thing with Ava is like her enthusiasm is so heartening because you know these things nobody's really getting paid a lot. There's such low budget that like I have to ask these people to commit to something. I mean, it's not their pay, you know, and the crew and everything. Like no one's getting paid the proper amount. Um so you have to really like what you're working on, you know, or like the people or something, the idea, something. And she she wasn't in it for herself except maybe to have fun, you know. There's nothing I could guarantee, you know, from it. So yeah, she was all in. And that's what I really respected about her too.
yeah, that one felt really alive. And even seeing Rosie, like the way you were saying how the actors kind of bring in their own energy to it, like a little bit of their own writing. Like Rosie O'Donnell's just felt like so different, like so very different. But it was hilarious. Like I think my favorite one was when the two of you were like in a courtyard somewhere and like I don't remember if like she was playing like your mom or your sister or like a relative or
The
something. Maybe.
journaling, yeah. It was weird with Rosie because I was realizing as like we got to the last couple skits, I was like, there's no physical comedy. Like because she's like a stand-up comic or a sit-down comic, I mean, with the talk show. So it's like she's used to being in one place and like I have always wanted to explore physical comedy, and here I found myself sitting all the time, and I was like, "What is going on?" And when I got in the edit, I noticed that like all the energy from my body went into my face, and like I think it was trying to do physical comedy here instead of like out here because we weren't moving a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really different for me because I we didn't have as much wide shots as usual, but it was a learning experience too with her.
I want to ask you a little bit about Schenectady, like growing up in Schenectady and what inspired you to get into filmmaking.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's funny because whenever people ask me about Schenectady, I always tell them like I didn't see a piece of artwork on a wall. I didn't know about the Beatles until I went away from Schenectady because back then you have to remember it's just radio. It's like there's no internet, right? So, um, I mean, it was Pix 106, which is like, rock and roll. I used to listen to 88.3. They would sometimes get like put Run DMC and like some city beats on, which I thought was the best thing. But other than that, you couldn't get much culture. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. I was really wanted to just run away and find the world, see the world. So I didn't know I was going to do filmmaking. Certainly there was nothing in Schenectady that you didn't get offered any of that stuff. Nothing. I mean, the closest we had was like dance classes and tutus and bunny ears. Like that's why yeah, I was on stage like that. But when I was little, um, I don't know. I don't I didn't get into filmmaking until I left, really. I'm trying to think if there were things, I was writing a lot. That's my grandmother always thought I was going to be a writer because I would write little things and I would observe everyone and be quiet while chaos was going on in the house. Um, but we didn't have a camera. I took pictures, maybe, I remember I took pictures of my cousins once and doing like hot rod wheelies and jumps and, but we didn't have film cameras or Super 8 or anything, Um, so I didn't know about filmmaking. And I even when I went away to college, I studied performing, I studied acting, not filmmaking. But yeah, Schenectady there wasn't culture. I guess that's my point is I didn't have access to it. I went to the movies all the time. There was a Rotterdam mall, Rotterdam, I forget what they called it, but there was a theater there with like two screens. And I used to walk from my grandmother's house to that theater. So that was pretty much the most culture I was, that I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the same growing up in this area because it felt like, well, we had NIST, I think that was what it was called, the New York State Theater Institute. Like that was something we went to a lot when I was a kid, and then I think they got defunded. A lot of people who did that are now doing like other forms of theater in the area, so it hasn't necessarily gone away.
Mm.
Um, but that was really cool. They partnered with Russell Sage, I think, or they like used their
Oh
theater
yeah.
or something and put on like some really cool shows that I would get to go to like on a field trip or whatever. But it was kind of the same deal where even though I had more technology growing up because I, grew up at a later time, it
Yeah.
was still like there wasn't really a lot going on. And lately there's been some people are calling it like kind of a renaissance where we're getting murals and people are actually funding them and paying the artists to do that.
Amazing.
We have like more dance studios popping up. We're really trying to get a theater in Troy, but we have theaters elsewhere. We have like different theaters in Schenectady and Albany and
Yeah.
stuff. Um,
I know Proctor's was a
Polacinski.
big deal for me.
Yeah,
We didn't go an awful lot, but I saw Harry Belafonte there, and that blew me away.
that's so
Yeah.
cool.
But but yeah, Proctor's was also something because actually I went back and I got a job there when I came back home from a summer from college. And that was a big thing for me too.
Mm,
So um but yeah, there wasn't much happening growing up.
yeah. Yeah, I remember I moved to LA like as quickly as I could, like right around when I was like in my early 20s.
Yep.
And it was only like upon coming back that I found out that there even was like a small film scene in the area and people were doing things. And it's kind of grown from there since the pandemic because it's like people have kind of been coming up from the city and elsewhere and just I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know there's been a huge migration, right?
Yeah.
Mm. I
Yeah.
know I've seen it too, and in Schenectady, the film community is really growing.
There's a soundstage up there too now,
Yeah, I
like
know.
right in downtown Schenectady. It's
It's
really cool.
amazing.
Armory Studios.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Um, I think Micah was telling me that you co-wrote Blue Valentine. Is that true? We were
No, no, no. Not no, that was I didn't co-write it, but I was gonna be in it. I was like
way.
thought I was supposed to, yeah, but that was before Derek got really he got an award for best cinematographer and things started to move fast for him and he had to go and like sort of get big names, not even bigger, like nobody knew who I was, so he had to do that in order to get the film made. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I was a thought. I mean, we were rehearsing and
Hmm.
reading and stuff, but it would have been a very different film.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I was talking to someone about it recently and they were like, I don't even know. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's the film that was like on every airplane for like the longest time. I felt like it was the main one that was like
Really?
anytime you were on an airplane, everyone was watching Blue Valentine. It was like the airplane film.
Wow, I wish I'd seen that. That's amazing. Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that one and then Place Beyond the Pines as well.
yeah,
Which is cool because it's cool to see when like things are shot in Schenectady
I know.
in the area.
I mean, that was the thing when like you were talking about when you came back to Troy, it was the same thing for me. Like Derek brought me back to Schenectady. I had not stayed there for a summer since I was a kid. So, it had changed a lot and we got to stay in the stockade. We were on the river. Like we did more things with his crew in Schenectady than I did growing up. Like I had no idea. We took like kayaks down the Hudson. Like I was like, are you kidding? You can do this? Like I didn't know that growing up. Like we were just throwing rocks in the river. We didn't think we could like go in and hike down or whatever, sail, cruise, whatever down. Um, but we had a great time in Schenectady. It was so crazy. But yeah,
What was the most shocking difference, like from growing up in Schenectady versus what it was like when you guys were shooting Place Beyond the Pines?
I mean, it was hard because there's so much excitement in a movie being made, and you have, famous actors around, and so it's just everyone's excited. So it was a more joyful time. Like, everyone wanted to meet Ryan or Bradley, and people were just so thrilled that they were in Schenectady, and so that was different. I mean, of course, it was going to be different that way, but I had two little children that time. They were really small, and it was great to be near my mom and my family while being a mom, because we're pretty far away from them. So it was good in a lot of ways, not just for the movie, but reconnecting with my family, you know. But yeah, that was something. And Derek, it was so great that he wanted to bring it to Schenectady because he wanted to, because it's my hometown and he's seen that town, and it felt like a gift to be bringing it there. And I was so proud of him to bring it too, because it felt like people needed to see what's out there. And I think a lot of kids were inspired, and realized that this was something they could do, because when we were growing up, it's like those kind of things just weren't there. That was so far from reality, being able to make a movie or be in a movie.
I
So
think it was definitely like just coming from my perspective, having the film network community in the area. It's like I think it really was really inspiring for a lot of people growing up here, because it was right around that time when films like first started kind of shooting up here. I remember Taking Woodstock was shot in my hometown in West Lebanon,
mm,
and we were like, West Lebanon, out of all places, it's like this tiny, I don't even know if you know what it is, tiny town in the border of Massachusetts. It's like half an hour from Albany.
yeah,
And, and we were like, whoa, cool. Like we could be an extra. Like my cousins are in it. Just,
yeah,
it was kind of silly and interesting to see how a film production would take over certain parts of the town, like renting out different spaces to, you know, keep props and whatnot. And it was really cool to see that. And then I think I don't know, Place Beyond the Pines was either before or after Salt, like around the same time that Angelina Jolie film was out.
yeah,
And people were freaking out about that. And they were like, whoa, like Angelina Jolie's in Albany. And they're like, oh my God, Ryan Gosling is in Schenectady. And it just like
right,
kind of became a thing. And now it's so frequent. It's just like, I feel like it's almost constant that there's something shooting in the area, that it's like not as crazy anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, it's weird like how fast things changed. And yeah, it's cool. I think it was really inspiring to a lot of people though.
yeah.
I remember I think a few people in our network like were PAs on Place Beyond the Pines, and it was like their
Wow,
first ever feature that they were on.
yeah,
They had that opportunity because it was local.
yeah. It's so cool. You're gonna hear they're doing reconstruction next door, so it's like so crazy. I can mute it if you. I don't know. Then you
No,
can't
it's
hear
fine. You can barely hear it.
it.
It kind of sounded like a woodpecker though.
Yeah.
I was
You're.
like,
Are
sound
you
like
into birds? You are, right?
what?
Are you a bird person? You're into birds? Yeah.
Oh, I'm very into birds. Yeah.
My son is. He takes pictures of. He loves taking pictures of birds. He's changing it up now, but since he was 6, he took pictures of birds, and they're beautiful, like all different kinds of birds, out in the wild. So it's really special.
That's
He,
really
yeah, he's got quite a connection. He knows them all.
That's impressive. I'm not that good with it. My parents got really into bird watching after I moved out, and then they didn't have the pet birds anymore
Yeah.
in the house. So they were like, "Where are the birds?" So they put up
Oh,
bird feeders everywhere, and they have like bird books, bird watching books. So they
yeah.
also know more about like the local birds than I do, because I just hang out with the ones inside my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. You probably haven't heard about this, but there's been a crazy thing in Troy recently where they built a bunch of new construction on like this island that's in the Hudson.
Mhm.
Um, and so because they built a bunch of construction on there, there were a bunch of crows, like huge, huge, crazy flocks of crows that were rehomed because they were living on the island. And so now they're like all over downtown Troy. And
Wow.
there's like a pro crow and an anti crow like thing going on, where some people are like, we need to move the crows because they're pooping on our cars and on the streets, and other people are like, but they're just crows, like they just need to a place to live.
Yeah.
So That's been interesting. We have a lot of crows in our backyard.
They're really smart.
Mhm. Wanting to be friends with them.
Yeah, because you can they know how to talk. They can mimic, which can be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a starling in our backyard too, and it mimics all the different like other birds.
Yeah,
So that's pretty cool.
that's crazy.
Where does your son take pictures?
When we travel, we try to go away, we do like a trip somewhere every year to get them to see things. And so he'll take them when we go, like we've gone to Central America and, places like that, or Colorado where Derek's family is from, or Florida, especially where my dad is from, and there's so many birds there.
Have you been to the Galapagos?
No, not yet. That's a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gone to Ecuador the past 2 years, and I'm like in love with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I still haven't been to the Galapagos, and there's apparently like a whole bird migration season where you see like a bunch of birds, and then there's another part of Ecuador called Mindo, and it's like the cloud forest, and it has like some of the most varieties of birds in the world, I think, compared to like I think Brazil's like number one or something, and then Ecuador is number two with like how many different types of birds are in that country.
Yeah, I have to tell Cody about that because, yeah, we're always after a bird. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really bad I didn't get to watch Towheads. Is that how it's pronounced?
Oh, yeah.
I really wanted to see that, and I will at some point.
Yeah.
But like your kids are in it? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was also, I mean, everything that I do is pretty much low budget, So it's like for that one, that was for a feature, that was like pennies. So
Wow.
when I wrote it, my producers were like, "You're gonna use your kids, right? Because you can't afford to hire kid actors." And I was like, yep, yep. And so I had to ask my boys, and at that time they were like, what is it, like 3 and 7, or like 3 and 7 or 4 and 8 or something. So they were little. And the first thing they wanted to know is if they were going to get paid. So that was,
That's so funny.
but yeah, it was really a homemade film. Derek's in it. I wanted it to be a mother's tale, so Derek is always hidden. His face is never fully shown because I felt like I wanted just to tell it from the mom's perspective because I hadn't seen anything like that yet. There were hardly any films made by women about being a mom that I knew of. I didn't, and so I just really wanted to tell it from my point of view, being a mom and trying to be a mother and stay home and take care of things and do my work. So that's basically what it's about. Um, and we used the house we were renting. I mean, it was chaos for quite a while. Because also we worked with a crew of like 5 people. So the sound guy would be in the bathroom and like, because I know the boys were really shy about it, and I didn't want to like I tried to keep a sacred space always for them. So we'd have as little people around as possible. But you'll see there's an opening sequence which is just fun to watch, like even if you just get to see that, of me walking the boys through Brooklyn. It's on my Instagram too if you want to just, I think it is. If you wanted, I think it is. Did we put it on? I don't know. But that was my little guy, Cody, who was like 3 or 4 at the time. He had to do this walk a couple of times. Like I never made him do more than 3 takes. Usually not even 3. But after the third one, he was just like, "That's it. I quit. I quit." I was like, "Where is he even getting this stuff?" And he's like, he quit. He wasn't gonna do anymore.
So
It
he
was,
really quit.
yeah, it was hard, I gotta say, like, but it was so much fun and it's invaluable. I mean, I feel so selfish because I don't know what other people see when they watch it, but when I watch it, I'm just like, I cherish it so much because of that time with them. And little kids are just so innocent and beautiful, and like, I don't know, it's just so fun to watch little people on screen, especially when they can be honest. And that's what the boys were so natural, and I think felt so safe that they could be real. Um, so that, yeah, that was a great time. I was so excited, and I was, because Derek had just he getting ready for Place Beyond the Past, something. He was going away to shoot a movie, and I'm like, oh, when he was doing Blue Valentine, I was like, that's it. I'm gonna write my own movie. I'm like, if he can go and do that, then when he gets back, I'm making mine. That's it. So that's kind of what happened.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, do your kids want to be filmmakers? Like, what is it like? I don't mean you're not them, but like, I wonder what it would be like to have two filmmaker parents. Like, I can't imagine.
I think it actually turns them completely off from it. They don't want anything to do with it. Like, I mean, Cody's is a great he's a talented photographer, and Derek's helped him a lot get started and understand light and all that stuff. And now he's taking off on his own, and you know, I think I don't I think it definitely puts them off. They have no desire to be in it at all. They haven't even seen Towheads. Like, they didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. So I always thought it would make them a little self-conscious to see themselves on a huge screen. So I never had them see it.
Wow.
But yeah, they're not into it.
Yeah, I tried to get my brother into filmmaking, and he's an electrician, like a real electrician.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, you could like we had to swap
Oh,
out someone on a feature I worked on, and they're like, "Ah, they need another electrician." And I was like, "You want to show him how to like light stuff because like he's a real electrician. He won't blow out anything, but and he learned the ropes and everything and like worked under a union contract, which was crazy because it was like a union production. So
yeah.
he was kind of like a day player, and he was like, I will never do this again, ever again. He's like, I've made more money than I've ever made in my life, which of course it's like you're freelance. So it's like you make the money and then you wait until the next project.
Mhm.
But he was like, no way. He couldn't handle the hurry up and wait part of it.
Yep.
And yeah, it drives me nuts too. So I
Yeah.
get it, but I don't
I
know, maybe
know.
we're just crazy and we
That's the thing, like with making low budget stuff, is that I kind of feel like there is a way to make it without spending so much crazy money, but it's become such a business that, and with unions and all that stuff, that it's so hard to do it anymore. Um, but you can make great films. It's just that people will call them small, and it's like they sort of get categorized as something else because they're not spending millions of dollars.
yeah.
But you can make things for nothing now with the iPhones even.
Hmm. Yeah, or even just like a Canon DSLR is like $200. I mean, maybe not the best quality, but still like pretty decent for what you can get.
Yeah. And are you a filmmaker too?
Yeah, I mostly produce. So I work in VFX as like my main job. And then I've done documentary for a bit. So I like producing documentaries, but it's like the projects are so, few and far between kind of a deal that like I mostly just kind of work on whatever I get, which a
Yeah.
lot of times is commercials, um, which I like. So it's
It
fine.
is that through a company, or how do you just freelance? You're
Mhm,
just,
freelance.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm trying to direct more things like within the next couple years. Um, now that I have more of like the resources to do it. It's been so long since I've been able to like actually direct something because I've been, once you get into the grind of like working and then paying bills and being a full adult, it's like
yeah.
sometimes it's really hard to find the time to be able to make your own projects, but like for me, like I get the most joy out of making like the low budget stuff, how out of making being like really creative with it and being able to kind of do whatever you want without having someone um I don't know, someone over you telling you that that's like not going to work for the network.
Yeah,
um
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's too many restrictions sometimes, you know. Um, yeah, that was the whole thing. That's kind of why I got started as I did, because not so much the filmmaking aspect, but the performing aspect. Because when I came to the city, I was like, this is so weird to like have these ideas that you want to express, but yet you have to go audition for directors who knows what they're looking for, and you're not going to get to play unless they pick you and you're one of 1,000. And it's like it was so strange because you basically have, it's like the lottery. It's like you have to fit into what they see or capture them with some presence. I don't know. And I just thought that was crazy. So I'm like, I couldn't do it. I was like, I got to make my own stuff because it's just, and I have to do it because I need to I need to perform somehow, you know. And so that's when I first started making like little silent films because I wanted to act, like I wanted to. I didn't know it was going to be funny. I just was messing around, but yeah, I found comedy in it. But yeah, it came from that sovereignty. I can never say that. It came from wanting to be autonomous, you know, to be liberated from all that stuff.
Yeah, I really like how like the first thing on your website is I think it's roller coaster.
Yeah,
What did you shoot that on? Because it looks like it's like film.
it's Super 8 film.
Wow.
And when I was shooting that stuff, it was like $12. I mean, it was so cheap. You could buy a camera for $25. The film and the processing was 25 altogether. You only got 3 minutes of film, but it was perfect for me, you know? So yeah, those I love that film. But now it costs like over $100 to yeah.
Yeah. Even when I was in college, we worked on, I think it was just 16 millimeter. We didn't use Super 8.
Yeah.
16 and 32, I think, 35, something. Um, but yeah, it was so expensive. And then we had to pay to, well, we learned how to like process our own film,
Mm,
but we could also pay to get it processed because like a lot of us didn't have the time to do everything ourselves and then also run the risk of like ruining your project that you've already worked so long on
yeah.
to yeah. But I remember it was like, I don't know, like 25 or $50 to get it processed. And then the film itself was super expensive too. And that was still through the university. Like I don't know if we had some kind of discount or something, but
And where did you study film?
so I went to Binghamton and then I also went to FAMU in Prague. But I was only there for like a semester. It's
Yeah,
kind of my study abroad.
that's cool.
Yeah, and we worked on film in both schools, so I learned a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I haven't made a film project in a really long time. This camera actually that you can see in the background is my grandfather's, and
Yeah.
it's a film camera. And I'm like, oh my God, if I could at least take like pictures on film or something, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Do you still shoot anything on film?
I don't. I'm not right now. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been doing my own stuff where I set up the camera and run in front of it, like, you know, which I guess is a selfie now. Like, I don't know, kind of. But yeah, no, I haven't worked on film in a while. It's so expensive, you know.
Yeah, it's really inaccessible. Now it's like they'll shoot something and then make it look like film in post, and you're like,
It's not the same.
no, it's not.
No, that was the beauty of the Super 8 is it had like a rhythm to it that I just loved that, you know, you can do that in post, but I don't know, the light is so beautiful and yeah.
Yeah, and then like needing an actual light meter. and then actually splicing things like physically.
Yeah.
Like it's sad to like know that that is on its way out. I feel like film schools are still teaching film a
Yeah.
little bit, but even then, like there are a lot of people who work in film who are self-taught, and none of them have ever touched like an actual film camera or like actual like splicer or anything like that. That was my favorite. I loved splicing film.
Yeah.
I loved putting it in the little slots and just being like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
And we would like scratch stuff onto it too, because I mean it was an experimental program.
Yeah.
So some people would like scratch their credits in and it like looked super scary, but like
I did that with a film. You should check it out. There's one called Tack that I did that. It was in because Stan Brakhage and all those guys. Like, yeah, I hadn't known who they were. My husband took me. We took one of our first dates was like to go see Stan Brakhage tribute, and I saw that, and so I inspired by that. I scratched because I didn't go to school for it, so I didn't really know you could do that. But yeah, it's really cool. Experimental film too is kind of weird. Like I know for a time, like before my son was born, so like 20 years ago, it felt like it was still like kind of hot.
yeah,
And now it's like I don't know where it's gone. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what the experimental film would be. Like, what is it? Experimental video? Like, and I haven't been out there that much, so I don't know if I'm talking out of my, you know, I don't I just haven't seen what that scene is anymore. Like avant-garde, I don't know what that is anymore. Like is
Yeah.
there a contemporary experimental film group or I don't know.
I don't know either because I've also been really out of it. I think I was overexposed to it in school. So once I graduated, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
I need to take a step back. Um, I'm still in touch with some of my professors and they're still like actively making experimental films.
right.
Um, and like my one professor got into like LA Film Fest with an experimental film he made, and they have like I don't even know if there are a lot of film festivals that even have experimental categories anymore. Like I remember I interned at a film festival and it was all experimental films, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
That was like definitely the most interesting film festival I think I was ever at. It was just like, yeah, but I don't see that anymore. I feel like there used to at least be like a small experimental film slot in a lot of the festivals that I went to.
I know, and like with the experimental film, I always wondered why it's not art because like my stuff got going in the art world, and I think because it was character based, like it was like Cindy Sherman, and I think people responded to that in the art world. But I always saw like Jonas Mekas um and some of the other ones they had such great it's just like it's an art their medium is film and they're experimenting like painters do and like why isn't it in the galleries and museums and I mean I guess it is in the museums but not in an art museum or maybe they are. I don't know.
Some of them. There's Mass Mocha in, I don't know
Yeah.
if you're familiar with it, in North Adams, Mass. It's like my
Yeah.
favorite place. They have a lot of experimental films.
Hmm.
They'll never do like, I mean, they have like their theaters throughout the museum. They'll never do like a screening though. But
Yeah.
I remember we even like studied Miranda July,
Yeah.
who did a lot of performative stuff in her early years. And it was like all of that was so like very experimental. And I feel like she's become way more mainstream lately. It's just like a lot of the work that she's been doing. But yeah, like even performance art and that kind of stuff, I feel like hasn't really been as popular lately. Or maybe it's on TikTok or something, and I'm just not privy to it.
I don't know. I don't think TikTok can handle that stuff. Like I've put some of my stuff on TikTok and it's like the things that I think would yeah, it's not experimental like we're talking, but it's a little different than like a 2-second clip, you know what I mean? Like yeah, TikTok is a weird world.
It's super weird. And it's like I feel like it's very taken over. Like it's like, I don't know, the generation below me will just like they're kind of running it And it's
Yeah.
interesting to see that. I feel like this is like my first time like as an adult that's like I have an adult generation below me, and it's really interesting to kind of see how that plays out, and it makes me kind of question myself like what it must have been like to be someone older than me when like the internet became a thing and like social media and like the cell phone, because that all came out when I was a kid, and I felt like it was, now I'm going off on a tangent, but it like felt
Yeah.
we could get used to it and learn it over time. And so we kind of developed this like, I don't know, I felt like we kind of developed our own etiquette as we went, but we're
Mhm.
still kids like on the internet. And now we're seeing people who are also on the internet, but like haven't known anything other than that. And it's just really kind of interesting to see how that's played out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the addiction of the phone, TikTok and stuff. Like I see it with my kids, who are like 19 and 16, and it's so hard to break from it. It's like it is the new drug. Like when I was a kid, we were messing with things, you know, and that's their drug, I guess. Which is maybe safer. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, go get into trouble outside, please.
Yeah.
Go do I don't know. Just go
Go be
s-
unsafe outdoors.
yeah, be unsafe. But yeah, it's different.
Yeah, it feels weird because I feel like I'm being addicted to it as well. And like when I was a kid, I wasn't addicted to it. It was just, it felt like something I could just do for fun every now and then. Like, I don't know. Or even like video games, I've
Yeah.
noticed are so much more like personal now, where it used to be like we all had our own little joysticks and we would play together. And you don't usually play video games by yourself. And now it's become such a thing where like, I don't know, it
Yeah,
feels kind of isolating. Even the phone addiction.
yeah, it is. It's so isolating. That's what I find is that the energy these guys are growing up not with the energy of a person. It's the energy of this, but not in the presence of other people, and that's important.
Yeah. Well, I really felt like with chopped liver too, it kind of reminded me of like making stuff when I was younger, and even just like playing with the camera and like, I mean, I couldn't get stuff at that level, of quality. But like just the playfulness of it kind of felt like it predated like the phone era. It felt kind of like, I don't know, it was really inspirational. Like you can do this. Like you can do something that's different than the norm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it felt really cool. Like it felt very attainable.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to make sure that people have the attention span to watch it, because I mean, since we've since I stopped. I don't know when it was, but between Towheads and now is like I noticed the attention span just shrink, and things always had to be cut faster. And like, I always tell people that one of my favorite moments in a film was watching this woman walk up a hill and sit in a chair under a tree in real time. Like, it was so amazing because it brought me there. And I don't know, maybe those kids can get there faster by watching it faster, but I don't want to get there fast. Like, there's something about having a moment with this film. And I don't know, it's interesting. I can't condemn anything. I just have been trying to adapt to it and see if I get something out of it or not. But still, you see, it's like my stuff is not like, it's not cut super fast. It hopefully gives you space to feel something. I mean, that's comedy too. You need to have that space and that timing anyway, I feel. Unless you're going to be like TikTok and like film some guy getting hit by a car. I don't know, and it's super funny. Like, I don't know. It's you know, then you don't even have to cut you they cut the beginning, they cut the end, and all you see is the collision, and that's like, okay, yeah. That's slapstick for them. I don't know. Yeah. So it's different. I hope it is attainable because I don't know. I'd like people to get a moment of joy for themselves, not just a laugh and you forget about it, you know?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be self-reflective, you know? It's like comedy that's supposed to remind you of something, and if it's going too fast, I feel like you don't get to reflect about it on your own of yourself. You can't reflect your own world, which is a shame because that's what it should do.
I totally agree with that. I feel like we really need to bring back the longer take. You know, that's like really been that's something that like I agree with. Just like like seeing someone in real time really felt like that was it for me. Like with I don't know any kind of like classic film that brought me into it too. I love what you're saying about the self reflection as well, because I guess I've never really been able to kind of like pin down why I like that kind of style of filmmaking. But yeah, the self reflection I think is really important.
And it gives you time to step into the film, right? It's like if you're watching Charlie Chaplin walk across a screen, you get to like you're in it with him, you know? It gives you time to adjust and jump in the screen, you know?
Yeah. Shannon, I wish I could talk to you
I
forever
know, it's
because
been
this is really
great.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with us.
Yeah, it's been great for me too. That there was another chopped liver coming out because it's almost done.
Yes. Wait, do you want to just tell me about it?
I can't. I never tell who's in it because that's like supposed to be like the big catch, you know.
Huh?
But
Okay.
it's someone I don't know. It's someone pretty big in a way, but it's a woman and she's really cool. But I think it's a fun one. Yeah, it's gonna be. I also like I think we had a good energy, so I don't there's not much else I can tell you. Like there's a bunch of skits in it though.
It was awesome.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Yes. All right.